Ooh, what have we here? More BattleMech. Yes, turns out there's a lot of mechs in MechWarrior 5, and introducing the Wolverine. This is actually the classic Wolverine. It is in the Mr. Fire Spy color scheme. If you notice that we're using a lot of the same color schemes, it's because a lot of these mechs are side grades, meaning they're not necessarily upgrades, they're just a different, similar battle mech. So I haven't really been shaking up our composition much. Anyways, I am your host, Get Good Fox, and we are doing a good old raid mission with this mech. And what is this mech? What can we say? This is a 55-ton mech, so it is a medium mech. Definitely skirting the edge of what you would consider a medium mech, but nevertheless it is. The weaponry includes the AC-5, specifically a burst variation of it. We've got an SRM-6 and a medium laser. And we are closing in on the first objective. Because we are using a burst fire autocannon, we are encouraged to get a little bit closer. It's just not quite as accurate. I'm looking for a deadlier target. I believe this is the deadliest target, so I think that's what I'm going to go for. And this mech is very much a raiding battle mech, which is part of the reason why I chose it. It's very similar to the Shadow Hawk. In fact, the weaponry will probably immediately make you think of something similar to the Shadow Hawk. The weaponry is a little bit lighter. It doesn't carry as heavy of weapons as the Shadow Hawk, but on the other hand, it is very heavily armored. Not that the Shadow Hawk isn't heavily armored, but where was that general I was shooting at? There it is. Don't know what my guys are doing, but they're doing something silly, I'm sure. But yes, the mech is very, very heavily armored. It is also jump capable, and that's because it is a sort of like heavy scout raiding kind of battle mech, and so, you know, it's very common for it to have... It's very common for this kind of mech to be equipped. Come on, go down. I need to squish you. There we go. These guys are being kind of a pain right now. I guess I'm going to go for you. Actually, let me knock out some of these smaller targets real quick. That is, see, this is one thing I don't like about the burst fire autocannon. It does do more damage, like collectively, the damage is higher. It's just that just doesn't matter because you miss more. You got to get really up close, and I don't know, having to get so close up with the AC-5, I think that kind of defeats some of the purpose of the AC-5. Like, it is designed to be kind of like a, you know, like a DMR kind of weapon, like just a very accurate weapon to pick off enemies at a distance, and you just can't do that with the burst fire. Like right here, like let me get a little bit of distance. The AC-5 has a very, very long range. Like our effective range is 620 meters, but I wouldn't dream of hitting even something like a tank like this, like a Scorpion or a helicopter at 650 meters, simply because the burst fire is not going to give you the kind of accuracy you want compared to the single fire, which, yes, does less damage, but is quite a bit, oh, look at this, quite a bit more accurate. But that's why you don't see me use the burst fire too much. I am okay with certain burst fire weapons. Like, I'm more okay with the big caliber burst fire. Like, I'm okay with, what do we get? Okay, I guess we get a machine gun. Well, coming up on the second target, oh yeah, I should have talked a little more about the physical characteristics of the mech. We do have 81 kilometers for our top running speed, which is right on par. Wow, that was... little fuel tank was the target. Well, that's right on par with the Shadow Hawk, with the Griffin, with all those other kind of like swift, you know, like on... Oh, what's this? We've got ourselves a Jaeger mech. That's fine with me. Like, he's going to have the same problem I'm having with his burst fire gun. And, yeah, so I'm going to use that to my advantage. I'm going to get a little bit lower here so that he doesn't have as good of a shot on me. And I'm going to use this building here to block his line of fire while I squish all the little targets. That's going to be my goal. So right now, a Jaeger mech doesn't have an angle on me. Now I'm going to sneak around behind him, I think. So I'm going to jump. He's never going to see it coming. Oh, look at this. They got themselves a... All right, I'm just going to go full guns on him. I'm holding all the buttons down on him right now. I'm just going to get right up in his face and just trust that he is a lightly armored BattleMech, and we're just going to go right through it. We'll jump into the air. They'll never see it coming. Okay. So I believe landed right on top of it. So one thing that is kind of annoying is that most of our weapons are not arm mounted, which, I mean, on one hand, it protects the weapons more. The weapons are harder to destroy. But on the other hand, look at this. Like, I can't shoot the laser very high, and I also can't look at the missiles. Like, the missile is shoulder mounted. So, you know, that's kind of a pain. Oh, looks like we found ourselves a straggler. I was about to just end this little scene right here, but that's fine. We'll squish you real quick. But overall, like, the Wolfhound, not the Wolfhound, that's what we're fighting. The Wolverine, it's very, very similar to the Shadow Hawk in particular. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's also one of the unseen. That's an important detail. It is one of the unseen, which is probably why it's showing up. The Griffin, the Shadow Hawk, and the Wolverine are all unseen mechs, so it's kind of like, you might ask, like, why do we have so many medium mechs that fulfill the same kind of role? Like, you think about the Griffin, Shadow Hawk, and the Griffin, the Shadow Hawk, the Wolverine, all 55 tons, all the same speed, all similar kind of weapon loadouts. And that's just, oh wow, the Dervish guy. What happened to my Dervish? What did you do to my Dervish? Like, you guys really got squishinated over there. That is silly. Like, I'm not sure I'm gonna let you pilot that mech again. And the doors are opening, revealing our next BattleMech, introducing the Dragon. I believe this is our first heavy mech on the series so far. Yeah, I don't think I've done any other heavy mech, so here we go. So, the Dragon. This is a 60-ton heavy mech, meaning it is the lightest of the heavy class. It's not uncommon for mechs that are at the very edge of their class, so basically like a 55-ton medium mech or a 60-ton heavy mech. It's not surprising if they kind of bleed into each other, where the bigger medium mechs can wind up behaving a little more like a heavy mech, and the smaller heavy mechs can wind up behaving a little more like a medium mech, and that's basically how the Dragon functions. This is not the classic Dragon, though. For some reason, I could not get my hands on a Dragon 1N. This is the Dragon 1C. And it, well, hey, where's the last target at? We got 4. Okay, it's one of these weird ones. Okay, so here are the weapons. You just saw the LRM-10 launching. We also have an AC-2 burst fire. Okay, and then we also have a pair of medium lasers right there. So this BattleMech is painted in Jim Struckman's color scheme. Very super ironic, considering that Jim Struckman wants the color. Oh, what's firing missiles at me? Very interesting. You need to go. It's ironic because Jim Struckman wants the Lyran Commonwealth color scheme on the Dragon, which is a very iconic Draconis Combine BattleMech. So, anyways, let's talk about the characteristics of this mech now that we have the weapons out of the way. It is very swift. At 81 kilometers, you know, there we go again with these 81-kilometer BattleMechs. And that is considered very quick by heavy mech standards. The typical heavy mech you can expect to go at about, 64 kilometers. So the Dragon is very quick on its feet. It's also very heavily armored. Oh, I believe this one has over 400 armor, but it doesn't have any jump jets. But that just means it can have more weapons, more armor, and overall, the Dragon is known for being an iconic Draconis Combine cavalry BattleMech, which we'll talk about. You know, I don't want to eat into our lore discussion, but yeah, that is a very significant element about this BattleMech. There we go. So this mech does differ from the other kinds of similar, 81 kilometer, 50 to 60-ish ton mechs, and that's because it's kind of a combination of two mechs. It's a little bit like your Shadow Hawk or your Wolverine. You got your ballistic weapon, you got your medium laser, etc. But where it differs is with the LRM-10, which is kind of more like, oh, look at this. We got all these guys here. Where it's actually a little more like the Griffin. If you remember, the Griffin had the PPC and the, what do you call it? Let me tap this guy out of here real quick. It had the PPC and the LRM-10. So this one is kind of a combination of both of them, which is, it's interesting. That's why it's very much a cavalry mech instead of being, it's more than just a skirmishing mech. It is a cavalry mech with the emphasis on long-range weapons, using the speed to get to the battle in a timely manner, and the long-range weapons to begin helping you out of your bad situation so that the cavalry arrives as early as possible. I do prefer the Dragon 1N, mainly because I just like the AC5 over the AC2. The AC2, better in the beginning of the game. I mean, like, we could still use it. Like, you could see the synergy right there where we were able to tap the target out with the AC2. But, I mean, I think we can do basically the same thing with the AC5. Ho-ho, time to try to use the flexibility of the Dragon to our advantage. Come on, lock on. There we go. Now we can zap him. We want to try to maraud these guys at a distance. That's the specialty of the Dragon. The Dragon marauds people at a distance, but it can fight up close because of the very flexible autocannon. And that's what we're going to try to do. Like, we're going to try to fight at long range right now. And then after we do some damage to it, we'll close the distance and then try to finish it off. Basically, we want to wound it, maybe take out one of its weapon systems, and now we can get closer and finish the job now that it's like a less fair battle. And that's kind of how the Dragon wants to fight. Like, even though it's funny, because the Draconis Combine is typically viewed as the bad guys. The series is very much like a series of moral gray, but typically the Combine is viewed as the bad guys. And you would think they would use like big tankish battle mechs, but no, they actually like a lot of these very swift mechs such as the Dragon. As you can see right here, despite being basically twice the size of that Firestarter, we're able to very easily keep up with it due to our quick speeds, and even if it exceeds us, there's just no escape from the Dragon with the AC2 and the LRM-10. Oh, I don't know if you're ready for this. Good gravy, where the heck are we? Welcome to the system of Kurgan. What are we doing here? Well, we are naturally supporting our allies of the Captain Alliance. I guess as a quick, brief explanation of that, the blue team, I'm going to assume you don't know anything about the BattleTech story. The blue team and the gold team, or the yellow team, this is the Lyran Commonwealth, this is the Federated Sons, they would get into a big old alliance, and as you can see, it cuts the map in half. And so that made the green team very sad, even sadder than they already are, because the green team, the Capellan Confederation, is typically the losing team. It made the purple team, House Merrick, the Free Worlds League, very sad. And it made the Draconis Combine, House Karita, very sad. So they struck the Captain Concord, it goes by different names, the Captain Concord, the Accord of Captain, the Treaty of Captain, and it's basically a three-way alliance between the Draconis Combine, the Free Worlds League, and House Liao. So we are here to assist our allies. Anyways, let's get to customizing. So over here, we've got the Wolverine. You can easily identify it with the crazy little, like, antennas that kind of look like ears. As you can see right here, we got a weapon system in the head and on the shoulder, which is why we only had one in the arm, which is a little bit inconvenient for shooting down helicopters. As far as equipment, you can see right here, we got the AC5 burst fire, the SRM-6, and the medium laser in the head. We've got 5 jump jets, 2 heat sinks, and the ammo feeders are right next to the weapons. Give me a second, though, and let me see what I can do. Oh, should have also mentioned, here we've got our, I already mentioned the speed of 81 kilometers. Armor is 304, which is decently armored. I don't think it can get, I think the best it can, let's just see what the best it can do is. The best it can do is 382. Wow, that's actually quite a bit of armor, but I don't know. Let me take a look at it. Alrighty, so with only 3 hard points, there's not a whole lot that I can do. Also, we don't have a large hard point here, so we can't go into like an AC-20. Not that I probably wouldn't do that on this mech, but I got out of the burst fire because, you know, I was complaining about it, so now we're out of the burst fire. I upgraded the SRM-6 into just like a tier 2, and I was like, you know what, I'm putting a burneroni here because I think it's just super funny, the idea of having, like, he's basically like shooting fire out of his mouth. And with the removal of the jump jets, we were able to double up our ammo because, like, you shoot a lot of ammo. The AC-5 shoots quickly. Like, I can go through a ton of ammo in a mission. I kept the SRM ammo where it is because it's not I can go through a ton of SRM ammo on an SRM-6, but, you know, like, it's not always a guaranteed thing. I don't mind the flamer just because the medium laser, I would mainly want it for the range, but the AC-5 is a perfectly good long-range weapon, and the SRM-6 is a perfectly high-damage close-range weapon, so we just have the flamer here for the lulls, really, you know, just shooting fire out of our BattleMech's mouth. The removal of jump jets also let us get 352 armor, so the mech is quite heavily armored. Now on to the dragon in the color scheme of Jim Struckman, which he just wanted the standard Lyran Commonwealth, the House Steiner color scheme. Very dirty looking, I know. So look on the legs in particular, like the paint definitely has like a very like battle-worn kind of appearance to it. Anyways, as you can see right off the bat, this mech is very heavily armored, 414 armor, so like just because it's a fast mech, it's also a very heavily armored mech. What we've got here is the LRM-10. Oh, one thing that I did not mention is I also like to call the dragon the Battle Nose, because, I mean, look at this. This is a giant schnozola. These are the BattleMech nostrils. Here's the giant BattleMech nose. You know, it's just a giant... The dragon is basically a giant walking nose. That's what it is. Like, it's just like, there's no way around it. It's the Battle Nose. Anyways, back to the equipment. We've got ourselves the LRM-10 in the Battle Nose, and then over here we've got a medium laser. It's in a very large slot over here, so that's possibly something we can do. We got a medium laser in a medium slot, and then over here, so the one thing I could not do is, even if I wanted to, I could not recustomize this into the standard Dragon 1.5, and that's because I cannot put an AC-5 in a small ballistic slot. So this dragon, it's going to look a little bit different. That said, I am going to maintain the spirit. As I said, in these redesigns, I always like to maintain the spirit of the BattleMech, so it feels very similar, and I've got an idea. And here we go. This is the Ghetto Grand Dragon. There is a variation of the dragon known as the Grand Dragon. It would eventually actually become its own separate battle mech, and I have decided to remodel our dragon to resemble it. It still maintains the similar style of combat. With the LRM-10, that has stayed the same. I might actually switch that out to a stream. In fact, let me see real quick, where is my LRM-10 stream? Here we go. Put in the old LRM-10. I'm saving this high quality one for the Dervish. But so the normal dragon would have an AC-5. So we've swapped it out for a PPC. So it has the same kind of long-range striking capability. Normally it would have an AC-5 and an LRM-10. We're going a PPC and an LRM-10. That is the Grand Dragon. Now, the real Grand Dragon is a Lost Tech refit. It uses an ER PPC, and it has, like, more goodies. So this is the Ghetto Grand Dragon. So this became a machine gun, which is actually one of our best machine guns here, very high quality. Only half a ton, because it's a single machine gun. I dropped 1 ton of LRM ammo, because we're putting the PPC in. We are suddenly going to generate heat, so I got 2 heat sinks in. That's probably not enough to keep the PPC cool, but I also swapped out one of the medium lasers for a flamer because, I mean, come on, you're the dragon. How can you be the dragon and not breathe fire? But I'm hoping that, even though we only have 2 PPCs, I'm hoping that the machine gun doesn't generate any heat at all, and the flamer generates very little heat. So I'm hoping that the combination of these weapons with the PPC, which we will be using the PPC up close, I'm hoping that the 2 heat sinks will be enough to keep it in check. But there's only, let's put it in the engine. Now, these engine heat sinks, okay, I'll show you the advantage of an engine heat sink. So normally a double heat's big, fat, double heat sink. But the thing is, if you put it in the engine, it doesn't, just compacts the heat sinks down. If you're not sure why I'm not using Lost Technology, it's because until we review all the mechs, I'm just going to be using standard technology, because if you see this mech and you think it's cool and you want to try the redesign, I want to make sure I'm not using any Lost Tech so that you can get this mech and immediately create it yourself. Oh, also introducing some new pilots, as you know, Miss Valkyrie, she wants cute pilots, so this is one of the cutest pilots. Now, who knows? From the nose bridge up, she could look like Gollum secretly, but from the nose bridge down, she's definitely a hottie, so who knows? But here we go. New BattleMechs. Unfortunately, I can't change the names. I would love to change the names and give them your guys' backstory. I can't even change my own name. My name is Commander, apparently. Oh, another reason why we are operating in currently Liao space, but we will operate also in Merrick space, is because they sell different things here. So here we've got the Jaeger mech for sale, and wherever you go, the different factions are going to offer different mechs for sale, and fighting different factions will cause different mechs to appear. So there is more than just my, random story reasons for doing this. I mean, let's get real here. Now that we're working for House Liao, come on, we get, the Oriental waifu character as our mercenary liaison. I think that's, the big one right there. So this is a 230-ton mission, hoping to find some interesting enemies to really put our next mech to the test. And the doors are opening for us to talk about the Old Wolverine. Now, I told you earlier that the Wolverine is one of the unseen, and the unseen were typically very popular battle mechs, and the Wolverine is no exception. Now, said Wolverine is actually a Federated Sons battle mech, and it's a very, very old mech. It was around in the times of the Terran hegemony, which is basically 2600, and the mech was actually created and eventually adopted by the Starling. That's how successful it was. When the Wolverine was created, it was intended to be the Federated Sons' answer to, well, ironically, the battle mechs I mentioned earlier, the Griffin and the Shadow Hawk. So that's why it resembles them. It's basically, they realized they needed a mech that was powerful but also fast, because currently there was basically only big slow mechs or really fast mechs. This is back when battle mechs were brand. Look at that, I'm breathing death at them apparently. But yeah, this was back when battle mechs were new, so you only had really big, slow mechs or scout mechs. And so there was a need for something that was kind of in the middle, and that's where, it wasn't just here comes a new challenger! Oh, look, we got a DLC mech, boys! It is the champion, yes! Oh, finally, about time. I hope we get to salvage it. Oh, there's 2 of them here! We got 2 chances to, salvage ourselves. Okay, I don't know when they're gonna. What is this thing in the way? What's this giant thing? There's like a thing in the way. Anyways, I need to squish it. Oh god, I just rammed right into that explosive thing. All right, that's one of them. Oh man, yeah. Oh, that'll be so good if we get a champion. This is not a common BattleMech either. Like, it's considered fairly rare, so I'm very eager to get my hands on one of these. Anyways, so the Federated Sons, they really needed a BattleMech that was strong but not slow. And that's exactly what the Wolverine would offer. Very similar, once again, to the Shadow Hawk and the Griffin. Now, originally, the designer of the BattleMech, they wanted to try to one-up the Griffin, and they wanted to one-up the Shadow Hawk. So the proposed Wolverine design had a PPC originally. However, they couldn't get it to work, so they decided to fall back to the AC-5. Actually, the AC-5 was the original proposal, but basically there was kind of like an emergency thing where they're like, no, an AC-5, that's not good enough. Let's actually upgrade the AC-5 into a PPC. And so they then rejected that proposal based on, they just couldn't get the PPC to work. So it came out, and the Mech, basically, they were worried that it wouldn't have enough firepower. Because they're like, you know, the Griffin has more long-range firepower with the PPC and the LRM-10, while the Shadow Hawk just has more firepower in general. But it turned out that the Wolverine was just fine, because what it did do very well was maintain its heat, because it didn't have, oh, we got another, oh man, we got ourselves a Cataphract on the battlefield. That actually makes perfect sense. The Cataphract is a House Liao mech, but it fell into Federated Sons' control when House Liao began to lose territory to the Federated Sons. So it actually makes a lot of sense that they were able to get their hands on what normally would be an exclusive. Oh, this is a good pilot too. He's actually using the long-range firepower of the Cataphract to his advantage. I better close the distance. I happen to know that one of the Cataphract's weaknesses is heat, so hopefully this flamer on it will mess it up a little bit. Bye-bye now. It's the end of you. Hope I can salvage you too. Would love a little bit of that Cataphract salvage so I don't have to buy one. Anyways, so it turned out that the Wolverine, it performed really well because it was very user-friendly. It didn't overheat, it didn't have any of these problems that other mechs had, and it was so good that the Star League actually adopted the mech and gave it a advanced refit. So like when I talk about these early versions of the mechs, they were like super crummy, like compared to what we have today. Like they were actually like a super like junky version of it, but eventually when it got picked up by the Star League, it got basically the weaponry that it has today. Ultimately, though, the Wolverine would be approved by the Star League for usage by the Great Houses. If you recall, in an earlier episode, I mentioned that the Star League would control... Ooh, it's so weird seeing this mech. I walked right through it. The Star League would keep the houses in check by preventing... No, it's going to explode on me. Ah, there we go. Now it's going to explode. Does this thing explode? Oh, I guess it doesn't explode. It just looks like it does. I'm going to squish these things over here. Like I'm intentionally not destroying the bases efficiently just so that we can... Oh, look at this. We can, like, snipe it out because we actually have, like, the accurate AC-5 now. Or I can just massively fail on that, too. Come on. No! I'm either too high or too low. There we go. But yeah, it would be approved by the Star League to be like, it was considered, okay, you got, the Great Houses, you can have it too, And that's what would happen. So ultimately, despite starting as a Federated Sons design, and then becoming a Star League design, it would go full circle and just become a general design scene all across the Inner Sphere. Pretty much every house uses the Wolverine, despite it beginning its interesting history as a Federated Sons BattleMech. So it really is a mech with a storied history, and it would actually see service for centuries upon centuries, like even going into the Clan Wars, where rather than stop producing the Wolverine, they just made like enhanced versions of it using basically Star League refits of the Wolverine, which just showed you that it was just a very, very enduring BattleMech that survived the test of time. Oh my god, I'm so sad. I mean, at least we get the cataphract. Oh, oh man, I really wanted that. Oh, I mean, the cataphract's better than nothing, but that's a common mech. I can just buy one. Oh, we had 2 chances to get the champion. Alright, this time we're taking an assassination mission. Gonna try to fish out some of these bigger mechs once again. Last time we took that 230-ton mission and we got some interesting heavy mechs. So hopefully we could fish out some interesting mechs this time around. Okay, so this time I do want to talk a little bit about our lance design. We're actually seeing a large quantity of these Centurions, and that's because I'm collecting them because they've got laser weapons, they got energy weapons, missile weapons, and ballistic weapons. And since we have new pilots, it means they can trade up all their skills. Also, the Centurion, it gets the job done. Now, these mechs here are slower than the Dragon, but that's not too bad because the Dragon can charge into battle, get the attention of the enemy, and basically make it safer for these mechs to just, like, blow stuff up. That's how I like to use the Dragon, which is how you're going to see it. Alrighty, so the Dragon. Oh yeah, look at this. We're stuck at our 64 kilometers per hour at a gotta keep pace with everybody. Anyways, let's talk about the Dragon. So, the Dragon, I hope you're not tired of hearing about the Shadow Hawk, because we're talking about the Shadow Hawk again. You see, the Dragon begins its life as a BattleMech design to be presented to, oh god. Okay, chill out, like I'm trying to, like, okay. The Dragon was designed to be a proposal to the Star League. Notice it, like, it was just a proposal for the purpose of my weapon groups are all crazy. Here we go, let me go ahead and, nope, keep those together. Perfect. There we go. So the Dragon basically was designed to supposedly replace the Shadow Hawk. The thing, though, was that although the BattleMech was designed to be fairly similar, it just didn't matter. The Star League were like, no, we're okay with the Shadow Hawk. We're very happy with its performance. We don't see any reason to change it. Wow, this guy is really letting me have it with these SRMs. Like I said, the Javelin, very dangerous mech despite being a light mech. That was really dumb of me to run straight forward at it, but, sometimes I gotta be a little dumb. It's just how it works. As you can see, our close-range capabilities are still there with the introduction of... let's actually get this Javelin out of the way. I really don't like it when they do this like this, because I have no runway now to move, and that just means, like, he's just going to be able to, like, pound me with those missiles, so it's really annoying when they do this. But, I don't know, we're just going to, like, chew him up real quick. Anyways, the point is that this mech was designed as a potential replacement for the Shadow Hawk, but it just didn't happen. Like, the Star League were like, no, there's nothing wrong with the Shadow Hawk, the Shadow Hawk is cool, like, we get it, the Shadow Hawk is getting a little older, but all we gotta do is just redesign it and use some more advanced weapons with it. There's no reason to completely replace it with a new mech. And that's exactly what happened. So, the Dragon did not replace the Shadow Hawk to be the primary kind of high-speed, slug-it-out mech for the Star League. But as you can see, we clearly have a Dragon today, well past the Star League, so obviously its story didn't end there. So, what happened was the Draconis Combine would very carefully scoop up the rights to production. They had to be careful, though, because remember, like the Star League, they wanted to limit the amount of power that the Great Houses had, primarily by putting sanctions on their military capabilities, and the Dragon had not technically been cleared for Great House production. But that didn't stop the Draconis Combine, who was very interested in it because they're like, well, you know, if this mech is being presented to the Star League as an upgrade to their iconic Shadow Hawk, it must be a fairly worthy battle mech. And that was their line of thinking. I'm going to have them target the slow mech, and I'm going to squish these faster mechs in the meantime. So that's exactly what they decided to do. Now, this would result in the Dragon becoming basically a mech exclusive to the Draconis Combine. That doesn't mean that other people couldn't salvage the mech and field it, but they had the exclusive rights to produce the BattleMech. And that's why you see a lot of them in the Draconis Combine. And when I say you see a lot of them in the Draconis Combine, I mean you see a lot of them. The manufacturing facilities for the Dragon were very deep inside of Combine. Oh, look at this. See, this is how you do it. The Dragon is all about like just bullying the crap out of people. The Dragon is all about, if the enemy is dangerous up close, use its high speed and decent long-range capabilities to harass the enemy at long range. But if the enemy is vulnerable up close, get up close and bully them, because the mech is pretty heavily armored. But anyways, the Dragon manufacturing facilities were very well protected, so they didn't suffer the kind of damage that other battle mechs did when the First and Second Secession Wars resulted in massive destruction of battle mech manufacturing capabilities. So the Combine just started building a whole crap ton of them. And this mech was not made for scouting. It was actually specifically made for battlefield combat. It is not a scout, and that's why it doesn't have jump jets. Oh, looks like our Rifleman is getting a bit tore up. That's because the Rifleman has a bit low. Wait. The unknown BattleMech has slightly low armor, but that's fine. Like, it's not using particularly important weapons that bother me. Oh, his weapons are out. That's the end of him. But the point, though, is that with the mech factories safe, the Combine just built a crap load of these. How much is a crap load? Well, they would build so many of these that entire battalions exist in the Combine that are nothing but dragons. And how many mechs are in a battalion? 36. Because there are 4 mechs in a lance, 3 lances make a company, and 3 companies make a battalion. So yes, you can have sometimes 36 of these dragons coming at you, and the Dragon is the kind of mech that becomes quite a bit more effective as they increase in number. Now you might think, isn't that true of every battle mech? No, some mechs are especially effective in large numbers, and that's because of just the weapon systems of the Dragon. When you fight 4 dragons, for example, they have the combined abilities of an LRM-40 and 5 AC-5s. Now, if you're slow, there's really nothing you can do, because let me put the Dragon into backpedaling. So let me get full acceleration backpedaling. So look at this. I can backpedal at a speed of 53 kilometers per hour. That is faster than an Atlas can move straight forward. Now imagine 2 Atlases versus 3 dragons. And the dragons just backpedal and stay out of the range of all, and I use the Atlas because that's just a super strong battle mech. The Atlas, its only long-range weapon is an LRM-40. Sure, that's powerful, but coming back at them is 3 AC-5s and the equivalent power of an LRM-30 versus the 2 Atlases' combined power of an LRM-40. And then if you add in that the Dragon is not a lightly armored mech, and it can withstand the shower of LRM-20, yeah, suddenly your big mech that's super strong is in trouble because the Dragon can abuse its speed and surprising long-range firepower very effectively. Anyways, to round out the history of the Dragon, it would remain in service in production. Well, actually, it would remain in production until 3065. That's when they would stop building dragons. That didn't mean that the existing dragons didn't go. They were still in service. But it would be replaced by the Dragon. Yes, eventually a variant of the Dragon, known as the Grand Dragon, was so popular that it was eventually considered a separate battle mech and given a full Star League refit, and it became the successor to the Dragon. So it turned out the only thing that could replace the Dragon was the Dragon. So we can see here, I was actually wrong. It looks like this mech actually did not lose any of its components, and it seems like one of the Centurions must have lost its autocannon. You know what? I'm okay with that, though, because that was a pretty furious battle right there. You know, I'm going to give them credit, you know, like, I'm not surprised they took some damage there. I mean, I had to really jump in there and brain a lot of those, bash a lot of those guys down. To get a full damage report, the unknown BattleMech had no component losses. That's fine. My mech, you know, despite me piloting a little bit overly aggressively, like I tend to feel a bit invincible in the Dragon just because it's a very bullyish of a mech. It's a very fun mech to use, though. This Centurion did lose one of its arms, but this arm has nothing in it. It's basically, the arm is effectively just a shield, so not too big of a deal there. And, oh man, that's... the others, so both of the Centurions lost their shield arm, and so this mech actually only lost the small laser, which we can easily replace. So that wasn't bad for the ferocity of that battle. And there you have it, the Wolverine looking very nice and clean, and the Dragon. The Dragon's actually one of the heavy mechs that I like, and out of all of the kind of skirmishing, kind of cavalry mechs, the Dragon is my favorite, just because it just has the right combination of weapons where some of these mechs, like with the Wolverine, I just feel like I wish I did a little bit more damage. I wish I had a few more hard points. The Dragon has just enough. It's very tankish, very tough to bring down. It's very quick, and it's got, like, I really like the combination of one powerful long-range weapon, such as a PPC or a AC-5, combined with your LRM-10, so that you can kind of maraud enemies at a distance, you know, pick off enemies at a distance, and then you can close the distance, in this case with the machine gun, the flamer, and whatever one of, because like the LRM-10 won't work up close, but whatever you chose, and in this case the PPC, for the Dragon, it really allows you to just, like, beat up those mechs up close. And, well, sure, certainly adding an SRM-6 in the nose of the Dragon would certainly do more damage. I do enjoy the flexibility, the option to engage at range, especially if my mech does get a little battered, or if it's just a good, sometimes, like, you know, you encounter like a hunchback or something and it's got the AC-20, you just don't want to get too close, you can just like beat the crap out of it with your PPC and your LRM-10. Overall, I just really like the way it plays, and our redesign takes it in a familiar direction to the Grand Dragon. Anyways, how would you have designed these battle mechs? Let me know what you think down in the comments section. And those of you who did not realize that the Dragon is, in fact, a gigantic battle nose, let me know. Can you now unsee it? Next time you see a Dragon, are you going to see a giant nose with giant mech nostrils? Let me know in the comments section. Anyways, like the video, take subscribe for future MechWarrior 5 Heroes of the Inner Sphere, Rags to Riches content. And of course, remember that you don't have to be good to get good.